This is a Pubcast Shot. I'm John Loomer. Sometimes it's correlation, not causation. Let's go. So today's episode is for the statistics nerds and philosophy nerds. Now, at some point, you may have heard someone say, correlation does not imply causation. Now, a proud moment of fatherhood for me was when I was watching a football game with my sons. And at some point, the announcers start talking about some nonsense regarding how one team needs to run the ball a certain number of times, because if they run the ball 25 times in a game, for example, they win. That, of course, is a bad logical argument. Teams that win often run the ball more because they have the lead, while a team that's behind will be forced to pass more. Well, my oldest son looks at me and says, correlation does not imply causation. I've never been prouder. So this is actually a critical point to understand when it comes to advertising. What does it mean, and how does it describe common advertising mistakes? And what can we do to avoid them? Okay, so this is one of my favorite topics. Yeah, I was even a philosophy major back in the day. This did come up at some point. I don't even remember why. It's all kind of a blur. But when we talk about correlation and causation, in either case, there's a statistical relationship between two variables. Now, I might butcher this, so don't come complaining. Correlation means a change in one variable happened, and then a change happened in another variable. In advertising terms, you changed X, and then results went up or down. Causation means that one variable directly causes a change in another. We know that a certain change in one variable will result in a certain change in the other. But correlation does not imply causation. The fact that X changed and results changed does not necessarily mean that the change in X caused the change in results. Let's provide another real-world example. There's a correlation between hot chocolate sales and cases of the flu. When hot chocolate sales go up, cases of the flu do too. So, we can make the argument that hot chocolate sales cause the flu, right? Now, of course, that's wrong. There are more flu cases during the winter months. There also happen to be more sales of hot chocolate during the winter months to stay warm. Hot chocolate isn't causing flu cases to spike. There's a correlation, but no causation. Now, this is a fun example because we all know that it's a ridiculous conclusion to make. But we do this kind of thing in advertising all the time. So let's go through some advertising examples that may not be as obvious as hot chocolate and the flu. Targeting is a great example. You're not getting the results that you want when using Advantage Plus Audience with the advertisers detailed targeting as an audience suggestion. You're spending $50 per day to optimize for purchases. You create a new ad set using digital marketers as your detailed targeting suggestion instead. You get better results. So you assume the use of digital marketers as the audience suggestion caused the improvement. While there is a correlation, it's unlikely that this was the cause. Audience suggestions make little, if any, impact on who actually sees your ads. And the sample size is too small to say definitively that this was anything other than a random spike. Another example, you paused your ads and sales went up. So your client is now convinced that advertising was actually a detriment and hurting revenue. So they instruct you to keep ads off. But that client had sent out a big email promotion at the same time you paused these ads, and they were also doing more organically, which likely led to the sales spike. So the two variables were correlated, but sales will eventually drop when the organic promotion stops and your ads aren't running. Now here's a timely example. An advertiser implemented the GA4 integration and results immediately tanked. The jury's still out on whether this is possible, but I am convinced we're talking about correlation, not causation here. This is a complaint I've heard from a few advertisers now. The problem is that there's no evidence that the GA4 integration with Events Manager has any impact on attribution or optimization. And actually, it's quite unclear what the true benefits are. But since results tanked at the same time the advertiser implemented the integration, it's assumed that this change caused these bad results. Meanwhile, a whole host of causes could be out there. You can apply this to so many advertising variables. I went broad instead of using audience suggestions. I combined ad sets instead of keeping them separate. I used emojis when I normally don't. The assumption is that this change directly caused whatever change in performance you saw. But that's often not the case. So here's the bottom of the glass. When it comes to making sense of whether a change in one variable directly caused your results to go up and down, there are a few things to consider. First, limit the changes you make at one time. If you change your budget, your campaign construction, and your ads all at once, and your results drop, you can't assume it's caused by the new ads. That's why A/B tests require making changes to only one variable. But even then, any change in results isn't necessarily due to the change in the variable. I've talked often about my A/B test where I got different results by 25% when using identical ad sets and ads. Second, appreciate that you will rarely be able to imply causation from a simple correlation. The results need to be meaningful due to volume, but it also needs to be predictable and repeatable. We need to rule out other factors like market conditions, algorithmic changes, seasonal spikes, organic efforts, and more. And finally, be okay with this uncertainty. Don't be so quick to make a claim of causation. Make note of the correlation, but require more meaningful evidence before moving from simple correlation to causation. Take a balanced approach requiring a high threshold of proof for causation. That doesn't mean that the results you get from correlation are meaningless, but don't build your strategy around something that may not be a meaningful relationship. Something I'm looking to prioritize in this stage of my life. When I say this stage of my life, the kids are getting older. I'm not coaching baseball teams and busy with all of that kid stuff as much as I once was, say, 5 years ago. I want to do more public speaking. Now, I've done a decent amount over the years. Look, I started this business way back at the end of 2011. And for a while there, I was doing at least one speaking engagement every single year. So I'm not your typical polished public speaker who is on the circuit at all times and repeating and rehashing the same presentation and maybe making it better every time traveling around the world. No, because I prioritized during these many years spending more time with my family, my kids, and that's really what was most important to me. But now they're getting older. 2 of the 3 have moved out of the house as I record this. Third isn't far behind, and I need to stay busy. And one of those things, public speaking. So if you have an event where you have an audience of meta advertisers, especially agencies, not just beginners. We're not talking about people who have never advertised before, but those who want to cut through the fluff, cut through the BS, just have someone give it to them straight about what is going on right now with meta advertising and how you should approach it. I'm your guy. If you want to discuss your event and my place in it, go to me@johnloomer.com. Thanks again for joining me today. Until next time, do awesome things. I'm out.